¿Qué pasa, amigos? I am Bandito. Today I will be exhibiting my AC-130 Moze build. This is a rocket-only build, and there are zero weapons outside of rockets. It is all about the explosions! It is pretty damn strong, and it can crush mobs and certain bosses, but can struggle against other bosses such as Graveward. However, most content can be beaten, including the Mayhem 10 True Takedown. This build is also tanky as it takes advantage of Moze's shield boosting skills and Bloodletter class mod. This build does sometimes require action skill spam and grenade spam, but you do not need it for general mobbing. So, without further ado, let's get into the gear and skill tree. Explosions! Alrighty, here we are with our gear. As you can see, there's a lot of rocket launchers, which is awesome. Our first gun that we're going to be using is the Plague Bearer. Now this gun is going to be your general mobbing weapon. It'll kill all the little shitters scurrying around. It'll track them down. But if there's a melee enemy on you, it'll track down to you, so it will kill you, so be careful about that. This thing also struggles sometimes with badasses and anointed enemies, so you might have to switch to another rocket, such as the Backburner. Now the Backburner is just as strong in area of effect damage, and it can also do a lot of single target damage. The only issue with this gun is it expends a lot of ammo, so you gotta be careful of that. Throw out your grenades, spam your grenades. I know people don't like doing that, but you will regen ammo and you can keep firing this thing. The next thing we have here is the Ion Cannon. This is primarily for fun factor. It's a sniper rifle rocket launcher. What more could you ask for? Actually, you could ask for more damage because right now it's not as good as it used to be, but it is still pretty sweet. I like using the gun, but I wouldn't use it too much if you're trying to go through the takedown or something like that. And now we have the Mary Sue of the bunch. This is the yellow cake. Obviously, it's a rocket launcher build. We're going to include the best rocket launcher in the game. So here it is. I like to use this when I'm down to kill enemies and get back up real quick. But you can just use this all the time. It'll destroy everything. Next up, we have the Old God. Now this is a radiation one, and it grants me 20% radiation damage. You can use a cryo one, get 20% cryo damage. I also have a lot of stopgaps and rechargers with action skill end on them. So if you want to be a little more tanky, go ahead and use those. Our class mod for this build is the Bloodletter, and for this I actually did include Thin Red Line on it, and the reason is we are not using a deathless build, so we actually do want to lower our health even more with Thin Red Line. I was also able to get 30%, 35% heavy weapon damage and 26% weapon magazine size. That is pretty sick for this build, so yeah, I would use this class mod. Next up, we have the Cloning Maddening Tracker. This is obviously that spammy nade that all Moze builds have. As you can see, it's only level 53, just because I've been using it since level 53. It's also great because of its annoying. We get 25% extra damage when we throw it for 6 seconds. And it is also great because we get to regen ammo by throwing this thing a lot. Now for our artifact, as I said, this is not a deathless build, even though we are using the Bloodletter. We are actually using a Last Stand Auto Idol. This gives us a temporary invulnerability for 5 seconds on shield break, and it'll restore 18% of our health after killing an enemy. This just makes us tankier. Now we also got area of effect damage on this and plus 40% magazine size, so this thing is pretty fucking sick. But you can use a deathless. I included one with heavy weapon damage on it. And then I also have elemental projectors, ineffable knowledges, and other auto aisles. So do what you will with those. I prefer this one specifically. Now, I just wanted to briefly touch on the fact that this build is non-optimized. This means that we want to get this anointment right here. While under 50% health, deal 150% bonus radiation damage. We do not have this on any weapons other than the yellow cake. If you can get them on any of these guns, go ahead, because that is going to make this build even stronger. Currently, I like to use on action skill end for most of our anoints, but you can also use while action skill is active, although that is bugged, so if you switch away from the weapon that the anoint is on, it no longer has it, so it is really up to you. But yeah, this is not an optimized build. You can make it better. Now, onto the skill tree.
That sentence had too many syllables. Apologize!
Okay, so here we are in our orange tree. I'm just going to go over some of the decisions that I made while working into this tree. So obviously, Armored infantry is basically a no-brainer for this build. We just get extra 15% gun damage and 13% damage reduction when our shields are operational. Moving down, we have flat off ingenuity. This gives us extra recharge rate, max shield, and shock damage resistance, good for our tankiness. This is going to be key to our survival, thin red line. Now I have it boosted here for our class mod. You may or may not have to, but I prefer to have it boosted. And this will reserve 80% of our max health and add that health to our shields instead. Next we have Drowning in Brass. This is a good kill skill. It gives us extra 20% damage per stack, but it does decay pretty quickly, so it's not as good as Phalanx Doctrine. Next up we have Experimental Munitions. This isn't really too crucial, it's just a small damage buff when we score critical hits, nothing too much to worry about. Now we have Desperate Measures. Now, a lot of people like to boost this even more than I have it boosted. I actually like to boost Phalanx Doctrine more, but this is really up to you. This will give us more damage the lower our health is, and in this case we have 80% of our health gone, so we're going to be taking advantage of this damage. Not completely though. If you want to take complete advantage of this, you need to use a Deathless Artifact, and then your health will be down to 1, and you will probably get up to that full 67% damage. Next up, we have Phalanx Doctrine. This is so good on this build, especially when we're mobbing. We're just going to be killing things so quickly, and this is going to be adding 16% damage per stack and 24% to our shields. Sometimes I get up to a solid 200,000 shields. No joke, this thing will make you stronger and tankier. You just need to kill. And for the capstone of this tree, we do go into Tenacious Defense. Now, you will have your shield broken, but the auto idle should give you invulnerability for 5 seconds after that. And this will also restore automatically 40% of your maximum shield after that. And it will give you a 30% gun damage bonus. So this is pretty great. So when you take damage, you will get more damage. And so that's it for the orange tree. Here we are in the blue skill tree. I'm going to go over some of the decisions that I made real briefly. Something to note is that we do not go into fire in the Skag Den. Now this is interesting because it does deal extra damage, but because we are using splash damage, this will actually catch us on fire and we will die from using this. So I would not suggest speccing into this. I would instead, to move down the tree, go into Grizzled. This will also make our Iron Bear available more often, so if you want to get action skill and anointments going, I would go into this, and you can also just use the Iron Bear as an escape tool. Next up we go into Torque Cross Promotion. This was buffed in the most recent update and is awesome. We now get 30% extra splash damage. This is great for the build, more splash damage, awesome. Next up, we get a little bit more ammo regen from Means of Destruction. When we throw our grenades, get a little ammo regeneration. This is nice. This is good. I like it. Alright, now we have Pull the Holy Pin. This is going to synthesize with another skill that we use. But basically, right now, we get 30% extra critical hit chance with our grenades. This is going to work with something in the green tree later on that I'll tell you about. And finally, in the blue tree, we have Vampire. This is going to restore our health when we throw our grenades. However, I only go 2 out of 5 into this because I find that restoring 8% of missing health per enemy hit is actually enough for me. For some, it might not be. You might have to take skill points away from other things to put into this, but this works out for me. And it is from this tree that we will be using our Iron Bear weapons. We're going the generic choice of Vanquisher rocket pods with weakening rockets. This way we can deal extra damage on specific targets. It's not really that much of a debuff, but hey, it's good enough. That's everything for the blue tree.
I want you to blow up the ocean!
Alrighty, here we are in the green tree. Now obviously this is going to be the most simple tree. To start us off, we have Cloud of Lead. This will allow us to not consume ammo every 4 shots, and we'll deal a little bit extra incendiary damage. It's not too big of a deal, but we need this to move down. We then go to Redistribution. This is going to help us regen even more ammo because we have Pull the Holy Pin, and that is going to allow us to critical hit often, so we get more regenerating ammo and more health for a few seconds. This is a very nice skill to have and is almost essential to the build. Now we have Scrappy. This will give us extra weapon damage while we are moving, but more importantly, while we are moving, we get handling, weapon swap speed, and mode switch speed. And the reason that this is important is rocket launchers are extremely cumbersome, so this is going to help out with that. Just make sure you're constantly moving. You want to be moving anyways. And to coincide with that, we have Russian offensive. And this was recently buffed to include lifesteal. So now you can use it with the Plague Bearer, shoot it up in the air, sprint around, and you can actually shoot the Plague Bearer while sprinting. You're just going to be getting a ton of lifesteal off of this, making you even more tankier. Now that's it for the green tree. So that is the gist of the build. There's a link to the save in the description, and you can make it even stronger by getting those 150% radiation damage while under 50% health annoyance. I'm going to leave off with some gameplay and later pendejos.